Sarah and Max, an unlikely pair in this wild podcast, they're the perfect flair. Sarah's charm, so feminine and free, a Cali girl spirit under the podcast tree. Max a strong force with a punch in every word. Together they navigate this dating absurd. Don't forget to hit subscribe, join the crew for more laughs and tales just for you. Now back to the show.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Good for Shidduchim. I'm your host, Sarah Levine. With me, I have my co-host, Max Landisman. And today we're going to be covering another topic, crazy topic. That I don't know if people talk about while they're dating, but that's what we do here.
Yeah, I think this is something women typically talk about, but amongst themselves.
Right.
And it's a point of frustration.
Yeah.
I would say.
Before we get into that, we just wanted to thank all of our followers on Spotify. We are up to 40 followers, 40, making it up the ladder.
That's right.
Please like us, subscribe us, give us a 5-star review. If you like us, on Instagram, we have 102 followers. So we thank you guys for following us. And if you want to email us, it is goodforshidduchim@gmail.com. Please give us any feedback, or if you want us to read your resume, or if you have any questions for any of the previous guests we've had on, or for us, we're happy to answer them. Hit us with your best shot.
Yeah. If you have any feedback, you didn't like something you heard, feel free to email us and we can address it on the show.
Yeah. We're waiting for our first real bad hate mail, to be honest with you. We're waiting for a lot.
The hate mail came through WhatsApp.
Right, that's true. But we're still waiting for a lot of hate mail.
I hear you.
But anyways, we wanted to get into our topic today. It's actually beautiful weather outside. I'm feeling the spring vibes.
Amazing.
I'm really excited. No more coats, no more boots, no more tights.
No more tights.
No more tights, Max.
Likewise.
Yeah. But we wanted to talk about men feeling, shidduchim, but men feeling intimidated by women while dating. And we wanted to cover topics such as like how much a woman can intimidate a man, or their independence can also intimidate them as well, their confidence, education, where they are in their job. So that's what we wanted to dive into today.
Yeah.
Max, you want to take it away with your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I can definitely take it away. One thing, this is a very prevalent, I would say, I don't know if you can say it's a problem. I mean, it is happening. Mm-hmm. And coming from a lot of the guys that I know, they actually, in all fairness, are intimidated by certain types of women. And I guess throughout this podcast, what I'm going to be talking about is it's not just a black and white issue. It's not just about, well, someone has a certain job and that's the reason. I want to get down to the nitty gritty of it. What I find is it's not necessarily just about the job title or the amount of money they make. Mm-hmm. This is at least from a guy's perspective.
Yeah.
It's just their attitude towards men that men don't like.
Can you be more specific?
I'm definitely gonna be more specific.
Okay.
A lot of men find it that, especially women who are more independent, they're typically older. They happen to be living on a certain area that I don't particularly like. Mm-hmm. I'm sure nobody knows where I'm talking about.
Nobody knows.
But when someone gets too independent, they feel like they don't need anybody else. And to a guy, a lot, like, for example, I hate when people, especially girls, when they say they're like, well, we're looking for a guy who opens the door for us. And I used to do that.
Someone who's chivalrous?
Chivalrous. I once opened the door for a girl and she's like, no, I can open the door myself. Like, what the hell's the matter with you? Like,
but that could just be like more of a, more personality. I don't know.
So it comes out in different ways.
Aspects. Yeah. That's true. I never thought of it that way, but yeah.
By the way, that was one of the most,
like you're trying to be chivalrous and like be a gentleman and open the door. The least you can say is like, thank you.
You have to be such a dick.
Okay.
My gosh. But that's I think an extreme case, but it also comes out as an attitude. Now, however, not every not every girl that has a great job and makes a lot of money and so forth necessarily acts that way. And sometimes it's really has nothing to do with anything. They're not doing anything wrong. Sometimes guys are really intimidated. Sometimes guys, I think it's really stupid in my opinion, but they want to be like, they just want to feel more macho than the girl or whatever. It's like they can't make more money than they do.
Right.
They can't have I don't know if you can say better career or just more intense career, I would say maybe. If the guy is upper management, that means his wife can't be in upper management. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. But these are legitimate concerns of, I've spoken to guys about this
So
many
guys
times.
have like,
There is.
they have confirmed that like salary, positions of jobs,
Yeah, 100%.
definitely impede
100%.
on dating.
I was just trying to make it's not just black and white. It's not just like, well, guys have it out for girls. It's not like that. There are also, just as I mentioned, girls who who have good jobs, who make a lot of money, yada yada, but like their just attitude towards life is so independent that it's almost like they can't mentally live with another person. That they're so independent, they don't let guys come in. And even the good guys or guys that are open to it, it's a very big turnoff. And it's something that I don't think many people really
understand or realize. Yeah.
It's just the undertone. Like if you have this, if a girl has this idea, like I don't need any man, then why the hell are you dating a guy?
Yeah, right.
Indirectly, everything you do is you're just going to try to show off the guy. And I don't think that's good. And it's not a way for a healthy relationship with somebody else.
Sure. I mean, I think you bring up a really interesting point to it, which I honestly wasn't even thinking about, is that when you are independent as a woman, I kind of was there. I kind of had a little bit of that attitude of like, I make my own money. I've worked really hard to get to where I am. And like, I don't need a guy to take me out. Like, I don't need to be wine and dine, and I don't need anybody to pick me up. It took a little bit of therapy to get through that, but I can see how somebody who is independent and who makes a lot of money, who's worked really hard, I can understand how that can project onto somebody who's actually dating, and that definitely could get in the way. I mean, what guy wants to be kind of cast aside and like put in the corner? Like that's just not right. So there has to be So there has to be like a good balance, like I guess understanding of like where you are and what you want out of a partner. Maybe a guy would be into it. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's an interesting view on it.
It's guys want to feel powerful, or they want to feel that you can kind of contribute to the relationship. If every time you're trying to contribute something and the girl keeps turning you down and just like, no, I can do it, like trying to reach try to reach over to grab a jar of pickles or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. If a girl's like, yeah, I appreciate that, honey, whatever, if you don't mind grabbing it, you do feel like a sense of, okay, that's a good feeling. If a girl says, no, I can get it myself. I mean, sometimes if you're on the couch watching TV and you don't want to get it, I think it's a great idea. But the idea that I'm trying to mention is that if every time a guy is trying to be very masculine and you shoot it down, that's a disaster.
Right. I understand. There's actually a TikToker meme. I forget what it is. It's like a guy being like, the best thing my partner can do. And it's like her asking for him to open up a pickle jar. It's like, okay, like not to take it literally, but that's kind of, I feel like where you're coming from.
It's like, honey, could you open this pickle jar?
And you're like,
you do feel, as a guy, you feel that's a good feeling.
Right.
It's like she couldn't do, whether she could or she couldn't, it makes no difference.
Right. It's that you want to do something to show that you care about her. But like, if you're being shut down or shut out, then how can you do that? And like, how can you let your relationship grow?
I remember being in relationships where they just would never allow me to do anything. It's kind of crazy. Like I've got a freaking woodworking shop in my apartment.
Yes, you do.
Right?
Yeah.
So anytime I have an opportunity to drill holes in walls or to hang something up or to really, do something, anything like more physical.
Yeah.
Anytime I try to help out or insisted like, no, I can take care of this, it was shut down every single time. And it was a huge turnoff for me.
I hear that. So I did want to talk about, I guess, on my view is, I guess it depends on the person, the two people that are dating. Some guys don't care, but I have been in circumstances where my career has gotten in the way in terms of scheduling. So I'm a nurse, and when I was dating, I was on night shift, and I love nights. And I was told by multiple people that I had to change my schedule in order to start dating. If I was serious about getting married, I would have to go to day shift. And one thing is that's actually not up to me. That's up to my boss. And the second thing is I didn't want to go to days. So I usually would tell them, like, if the guy didn't want to date me, or if it was getting in the way, like, then I just didn't want to date that guy. But I was told by multiple men that my schedule was not like easy, and it was too hard for them to date me. Mm-hmm. So that was one thing. So I know, like, a lot of women who, let's say, are really, like, senior in their firm or in their business. I know it can be really hard because you work maybe 12 hours, 16-hour days, like crazy amount of time. Even when you go home, you're still working. And I do feel like a guy does have to respect that. And if a girl decides that that's what she wants, then that's what she wants. And she just has to find a partner that's okay with that and supports her through it. I don't think that you have to give up any type of happiness or any type of schedule, any type of job for someone else, unless you come to that compromise on your own. I don't think people have to feel like, oh, because I'm making X amount of money, I have to, but I do want to get married, I have to take it down a notch. I don't think that's just not the answer. And I know a lot of women are being told, oh, it could be intimidating by a guy if you make more than them, or if, like, kind of tone it down a little bit. I mean, don't sit across the guy and be like, I make this much salary, how much do you make? Like, don't make it a competition. Be confident in it, but also don't be cocky in it, which I feel like also can kind of go either way.
You're saying that, well, there are guys that can come off that way. You're saying girls can come off that way as well? Yeah,
exactly. Like, women can come off that way as well. And I guess it all depends on if you're into the guy or if you like who you're dating. It comes down to, compromise and, like, kind of having more of a perspective on what you want to prioritize. And if you want to prioritize your career, then prioritize your career, and don't let anybody tell you any differently. Like, the biggest turnoff for me was, like, when a guy was like, your schedule is just too much, like, can you call out sick on a Sunday? Like, that was the biggest turnoff. Like, first of all, those are my sick days when I decide and when I want to take them. Who are you to tell me, like, when I should call out from work? Right. Immediately I would break up with them because they were just not respectful of my job choice and, like, my job schedule. So I feel like there is a lot that plays into it.
Yeah, I mean, being a nurse, I don't think is the easiest thing to navigate. And I do know a lot of guys, I think even myself included, would have a hard time navigating the times, whatever it is.
It is hard. I'm not saying it's easy, and it also is. It's also hard when, like, when a woman who is a lawyer, and I
was gonna get into that.
She works all the time. It's not easy, and, like, I feel like men sometimes feel that if they have a 9-to-5 easy job, they don't understand that, like, she's trying to reach a goal, and what he could do is respect that and be a partner where he actually is supportive of it. That's a lot more, like, that's more attractive to a woman than taking her out for dinner. Literally, like, calling her and seeing her if she needs anything. Maybe she's going to work really late in the office. Maybe he can offer to get her some food to the office. Like, small things like that is actually, like, kind of a big deal.
Yeah, Shlomi picked you up the other day, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. Yeah. He picked me up from work. I'm a spoiled brat.
So you were no, you're not. But you took the words out of my mouth. That was exactly, I was going to hit up on that, where I would never tell a girl when she can or can't, or when she, can you take a sick day off to go out? I think that's a disaster waiting to happen in general. I do think, though, especially with the lawyer, because I've had really negative experiences with lawyers, I also feel like they have no emotion. They have no emotion at all.
I mean, my dad's a lawyer. I feel like he could just be a lawyer thing. I don't know.
And, so Shlomi and I, in our business, we actually did go through some sort of law, whatever. I don't want to get into it, but I totally understand now why lawyers are the way they are. It's horrendous.
It's brutal.
I can't say it's brutal.
It's not easy. It's not for everyone, but people who love it, love it.
And that's fine. People love accounting. That doesn't, but I remember picking her up at her office. She was working late. That's fine. Mm-hmm. And I called her saying, "Hey, I'm here. You should come down." And she kind of just hung up, like it was like a slam. It was like a slam, whatever it is.
Maybe she was really busy. I don't know.
She was really busy, but we made plans to go out on a date. It's not my problem.
Yeah.
If you're too busy, then don't go out.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It just, her attitude, like she would actually, when we were walking, she would walk ahead of me.
Oh boy. Okay, maybe that was just that one girl though. I don't feel like all lawyers are.
I'm not saying all lawyers. I remember telling Rabbi Halper, who is a lawyer himself, and he's like, "Yeah, you would do terrible with lawyers in general." So I just won't go out with lawyers. I just don't want to go out with lawyers. But as you mentioned, like if someone's already married, it's different. But like once you're dating, like if a guy already has a problem with the schedule of a nurse or a lawyer, I think they should just cut their losses and just not do it.
Right. I mean, also it's like I also hear of sometimes women downplaying actually like
they do that a lot.
How much they actually like what they not like how much they make, I won't say, but like their positions of their jobs, because they're nervous that if they bring up like how high they are in their job, that the guy won't give them a date or won't go on a second date. If they really like the guy, they may be really nervous to say how like where they are in their job, because they're a lot more successful than the guy that they're dating. But I know a couple girls that are really hesitant to be like, yeah, I don't say my full job because I'm nervous that a guy would actually not want to go out with me because he may be intimidated by my job title. And I understand where they're coming from.
I've heard that too.
Right. Yeah. I understand where they're coming from. But at a certain point, you do have to just, kind of say what you do. And hopefully the right guy won't be intimidated by that and respect that.
I never understood it because I'm like, oh, you make a lot of money? That's phenomenal. Like I just don't understand.
Right.
Like,
but you're the type of guy who won't be intimidated. I feel like there's a lack of confidence that comes with it, or a lack of self. What's the word I'm looking for?
It's like, I think a lot of guys, and I hate to say it, and because it's like, I don't want to be associated with this type of thing, but a lot of guys, it's the same thing with the age thing. Why won't guys date girls who are older?
Yeah.
A lot of people have this notion about pregnancy, when you can get pregnant, when you can't, whatever.
Right.
So they want to date younger girls, whatever. And the same thing with, if you have a higher position, that means you're going to be busier, and they're looking for more like a housewife, someone who's just going to take care of kids, that kind of thing. And it could be like if someone says they're a CEO of a company, that doesn't really necessarily fit in with their agenda.
Right, exactly.
So
there's like a hierarchy, and they want to be at the top of it, and then their wife, they have like in their head like has to be a little bit below them. Like I feel like some guys, like they may have an undergrad degree, but they don't want to date somebody who has a master's degree because she's one step ahead of him. You know what I mean?
I think the perfect example of I think it all comes down to communication. And what I mean by communication is this can go either way, guys, girls, whatever. If you're some CEO and whatever, and you're all, I say like you're full of crap, like you can't even answer a text to your wife or whatever it is, or to your husband, like you're too busy. In my opinion, the higher you go, the less work you should be doing. This is a Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, also mentality. The higher you go, the less you should actually be physically working. You shouldn't. Unless in the cases of running Starbucks, it's one thing.
Okay.
But most people, You
Like
know,
a CFO and a CEO? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, like C-suite executives. A lot of them are playing golf all day. They're not doing anything. They're making bigger decisions.
Right, but how they got there were the people that are below them that are working like
They work
dogs.
okay. They work like
So if
dogs.
you're-
Fine.
Right. So if you're
So what I was trying to get to is that they could work like dogs, but if your spouse or your girlfriend or boyfriend are trying to reach you to say how's your day, like maybe schedule 5 minutes to just check in with them and just make sure like you guys are kind of on the same page.
I see
Versus
what you're saying.
like how many wives have, let's say, CEO boyfriends, husbands, whatever, and they just don't hear from them like ever.
Right, but I don't know if they care or not. Like that
Well,
could be their relationship.
Well,
I don't
if
know.
that's how you want to, I hope we're going for a relationship that's more than just, well, he's making a fortune, so I don't really care about the
I
actual
know, but those
relationship.
relationships exist.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, there are plenty of people that marry NBA players for money, but they don't have it's not a real relationship.
Right, yeah.
They cheat on their spouses all the time.
Okay.
It's not my words.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to get at is I think you can still go after your dream, or you can still go after, even if you're working a lot. I think that if you just have communication where the other person doesn't feel like they were forgotten about,
Right.
and they feel like crap because they don't ever check in with anybody. I think if
Right.
you just check in and just still have that constant communication, I think it can be
Mm-hmm.
achieved.
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree. Like going back to somebody who's working, in the office and who's really late, or let's say a night nurse, so like myself, or a resident, or somebody who works like odd hours. If you're thinking about the person, just shoot them a text, even if it's like at 3 a.m. in the morning. They'll see it. They'll see it when they wake up and they're like, we haven't seen each other in a week, but they're still thinking about me. But it does take a certain fundamental connection for that first, for that to happen. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if you both really like each other and you really want it to work out, and you're okay with not seeing each other, even though, let's say, you live in the same area, even for like a week and a half, just because your work schedules just don't work out. You're super busy. You're in school. You're in your fellowship. And you're okay with having a relationship where one text or like one phone call is enough for you for that week. I think that's actually pretty special.
It is.
But it does take a certain level of maturity. And I do feel that some of those relationships are far and few between, because I feel like in the shit world, I was told, like, if you go out like on a Wednesday, you have to give a second date by Sunday. There's like a certain level of time that like you have to date by, your first, second, third date has to be within a certain time frame, because, like, he may be having other girls' resumes come in, or he may be not so into waiting so long. He really wants to start dating really quickly, and like you have this pressure, and it's like, okay, but let's slow down a little bit. Like, my time is also important, and maybe I don't want that, and maybe that's just not the correct way, quote unquote, correct way of dating.
Right. Well, this is what I mentioned in another podcast about dating multiple people at the same time.
Oh yeah, our previous one.
Like, if you're going to go out one time every 3 weeks, I don't think that's fair to anybody that they're sucked into something they can't go out with anybody else. I think, as I mentioned before, I give it like a 3-date. I think you also did, but they give it like a 3-date.
Yeah, by the fourth date.
But fourth date, like, you gotta
make a decision.
Think, yeah, you can't. I don't think you should be going out with multiple people. But like, if you're just going out for the first time, there's no guarantees you're going out for the second time, anyways. Mm-hmm. And someone can't. I see no issue with going out with multiple people, especially in the beginning. So, right. But I think, when you mentioned before, women are reluctant to say what their positions are at companies and get nervous about that. I think you're 100% right. That does happen. I do think, though, that, they obviously, in the ideal world, they shouldn't be. But also, I think, like, if they really, if they have that, if they have a certain drive, and the guy is really just looking for like an anal girl that's just going to be home, which is, there's no problem with that, but is looking for I think it should be like, it should be discussed up front, and maybe they shouldn't go out with each other.
Yeah, they shouldn't go out with. He shouldn't go out with somebody who has a job, or like somebody who is independent or has a good job title. Like,
so I mean, I hear why a girl would be reluctant to it, but it may be a better thing that they would be more upfront about it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, for sure. I think a guy should say, you know, I really am looking for somebody who makes less than I do. I don't find it attractive, or I want to feel like I'm more of the man in the situation. I feel like he really should be upfront, because then he's wasting his time and he's wasting the girl's time. And he also should be upfront about, like, education wise. Like, if he has a master's degree, he should say, you know, I don't want to date somebody who has a doctorate degree. I want to date somebody who is undergrad or hasn't gone to college. He should be upfront about that, because then you're wasting so many people's time. And what girl would want to sit across from this guy who's thinking like, oh, she has her doctorate, oh, she makes more than me? Like, that's not right for her. So, like, just kind of, you know, take care of it before it even starts. And don't waste anybody's time about that. Right.
I like to bring up, like, I think a really good example of something that kind of fits this realm. And every Jew listening to this is going to know who Charles Turwitt is. Actually pronounced Turret. I actually tried to get him on my previous podcast.
Oh, okay,
he said
cool.
no, and then a week later, he was on Mishpacha magazine, where he realized literally every single Jew wears his white twill shirts.
Oh my God, will he come on this podcast?
To talk about shidduchim?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe we can talk about it. But
okay.
So he obviously runs a gigantic operation. His company does roughly about $200 million a year. The thing is, most people don't know his wife is actually more successful than he is.
Oh, okay.
And he's very successful.
What does she do?
She owns some sort of, I believe, lifestyle brand that she sells, like, I know she sells like blankets and beds and that kind of.
Oh, okay. So they're both like in
like
the
for women
clothing.
Or whatever. And from my understanding, I think she does more in revenue than he does, and I believe her company's bigger than his.
Oh.
So you can say, like, do you think Charles Turwitt feels like a lesser of a man because his wife makes more than he does?
I guess it doesn't bother him. Right, it doesn't bother him.
Who cares? Yeah, who cares? So I don't know. I just wanted to bring that up.
Oh no, that's a good example. No, that's actually, I didn't even know that, but that's a really nice example.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I do feel like it is also going back to like a confidence thing, like but also a lot of women who have approached me about this, they are quote unquote older single, which I hate to say, but okay, fine. So they're not 19, 20, right? Yeah. These are women that obviously are a little bit in their later 20s and 30s. How else are you going to climb, you know, the ladder at work? You're not coming right out of college and making, you know, a 6-figure salary, sometimes 7-figure salary. So like, obviously these women are a little older, so they feel that in order for them to get more dates or for them not to be rejected immediately, they really have to downplay how much they're worth. And I'm not saying like shout it from the rooftop and like put it on your resume or tell the shachan like, you know what, before we start this, I make X amount of money. But I do feel like there is some type of balance. But it's to me, it's just upsetting because like I feel like these women have to hide their true selves in order to make sure that they are getting dates, and it just like pains me. It's like that's just not how it should be. You know, it shouldn't even be, to me, it shouldn't even be like a thought. Like, I don't think people really should focus so much on that. There's so many other fundamental things to focus on in a relationship, and just I feel like that's just such a nitty gritty, such a minute like thing that it just hurts to hear. You know?
Yeah. You're right. I mean, because you know more than I do. You know that side more than I do, obviously. But I do know people that have gone through that. It's really unfortunate. But I also think it comes all the way down to shadchanim who don't know what they're doing. They don't when I say push, I don't mean pushing someone to go out. Yeah. What I mean by that is questioning the person. For example, like I mentioned, someone says, well, I won't go out with a girl who's like from a guy's perspective, I won't go out with a girl who's taller than me. I'm like, okay, interesting, that's fine. Do you think Giselle's hot? They're like, yeah, would you go out with her if she was Jewish?
Giselle Bundchen?
Yeah. Would you go out with her if she was Jewish and, you know, your age or whatever? He's like, yeah. I'm like, she's like 6'3" or something.
Right.
We're 6 feet. And like, oh, I didn't realize that. I'm like, so knowing that, would you still go out with her? Like, yeah, probably. You know what I mean? So in this case, with you're CEO, you're not a CEO, you make X amount of money. First of all, what the hell are you talking about? Why are you talking about this in the beginning? Whatever it is.
Right. It's like such a small detail, but like when guys find out about that, they're like, oh my gosh, like,
Like,
she
what would
makes
you rather?
more than me. Oh my god.
Right. Like, it's really hard for me to understand it.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, right, because
like, I
you're a
understand,
guy
like,
that that's something that it doesn't bother you.
Wouldn't you want her to make more money? Like, I just don't get it.
It's a ego thing, I guess. It like feeds into their ego. Like they want to make more. They want to be the man of the house. They want to contribute to the house.
Every guy wants to be the man of the house, but that doesn't mean she can't make more. Like, as I said, Charles Twitt isn't the man of the house. Like, he's not a man because his wife makes more than he does.
I guess it's all the type of perspective that you want, that you have, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, I agree with you. I don't think or I don't feel that it's like this is what we should be focusing on in terms of starting a relationship. How, like, where the person is in the job and like what does that mean to the guy. I just don't think that that's even like that's a mature thought. I don't think that is like a highlighted thought that even should be not talked about. Obviously, you should talk about it, but like you're like it shouldn't be to the point where a girl is nervous to even bring it up because she's been rejected by so many guys about it, you know?
It's crazy.
So yeah, that's what's hard and what's painful to hear. And again, like going back to the shadchanim, like I'm sure not all of them are like this. Like we've said, we've had disclaimers on the episode about how we don't feel every single shadchan is a bad shadchan. We only specify ones that are toxic and are negative. Right. But I do feel that a shadchan, if a guy says to her, you know, oh, she has her doctorate degree, that's too high of an education for me, which I'm sure has happened. Or, oh, she's a CEO, or she's a high class lawyer, or she's a fellow for a special residence, for a special fellowship. Like she should, I feel like they should talk to the guys and question them and say, you know, why do you feel that way? Or like, what makes you say no to a higher education? You know, and if you just let these things pass by, then you're just normalizing the whole situation. And that's where we are right now. Right.
I think the words you were using was, you know, you don't want to go out necessarily with a guy who, a guy doesn't want to necessarily go out with a girl who has a higher or whatever it is. Even in my case, I would never, like, that's not really a thought. However, as you mentioned, when you said they should be questioning, right? If someone's a CEO, that could mean a lot of different things. Could mean that they're a CEO of an international company and they travel 250 days a year, or you're a CEO and you work three hours a day. CEO, there's a lot of different meanings to what CEOs are. But as I was touching upon myself, let's say, it's nothing to do with education, but I know myself. I'd like to see my wife. Mm-hmm. If someone is, let's say, in residency, I know that's brutal.
Right. Yeah.
That's brutal. It's nothing to do with education. It's just I know myself and may be very hesitant to go out with someone. But again, it has something to do with how much time can I spend with her.
Right. Right. So maybe you know you wouldn't waste somebody's time who you'd be like, exactly, okay, I know myself and I won't be able to just like see her once a week or just speak on the phone with her.
Right. Like for me, it doesn't work. But I think you're right. In most cases, I do think a lot of guys just look at, well, she's going to make more than me. Her job title's higher than mine. So I don't want to go out with her for that reason, which is just crazy.
Yeah. It's definitely in there. Okay, so having all said that, what do you think is actually a good time in the relationship to start talking about all of this stuff?
Not until you're serious, in my opinion. First of all, in my opinion, the salary you make is not how you become wealthy to begin with. I feel like most people don't even understand the concept. I don't view salary as anything. I view like salary as extra. I'm very into investments, and investments are private. Right.
Okay.
So it's not just based on what you're doing. No one knows how much you actually have. No one knows how maybe you inherited money, and maybe you're very what's it called? you're a down-to-earth person, you don't really drive a fancy car, you don't own fancy houses or mansions or anything like that, you generally don't have any idea how much the person actually has. The guy could be a teacher, but he could be worth $6 million and nobody even realizes, which there are people like that.
Sure. That's kind of how I grew up.
I hear that.
That's
Pittsburgh.
my whole entire,
Everyone Pittsburgh.
Everyone, you
drive
never
a 25-year-old car. Yeah.
Listen, it's so humbling, and like nobody flaunts their wealth. It's like a breath of fresh air. Like it's actually nice to see.
Yeah.
But I definitely understand.
So I mean, I'm not just gonna come out and tell someone how much I, if you want to say how much you make, maybe that's fine. But like on a deeper level, as far as like money is concerned and talks about legitimate finances, I don't think that should come until much later, until you're legitimately serious, like actually serious about getting engaged or something like that.
Oh, okay.
I feel like it's just not, who cares? Like,
Okay.
I just screw you if that's all they talk about.
Right. I completely, totally disagree.
That's fine. I was going to get in trouble. Whatever. Go ahead.
I think it should be brought up a little earlier, even before engagement, because I do think finance I do feel like it is an element of the relationship in which like you kind of grow together. So I do feel like, if somebody has a lot of debt, if they did a lot of schooling, if they have like a higher education, usually normally they're in debt. Or if you are dating somebody who bought a house and you bought it on a mortgage, I feel like these are very, very important things to know moving forward, because the worst thing that could happen is when you get serious and then you both realize like, how are we actually going to do this? Or actually this really does bother me. So I am somebody who kind of wants to get all of that out of the way before actually really investing in the relationship and being like, can this actually work? And one of my friends told me she was going to this really expensive school and for higher education, and she was dating somebody. She's married to this guy now, but she was dating him at the time. And it was a very long conversation that they had about, because he was like, how are we going to do this in the long run? Because I make X amount and you're going to this school and we're going to get married and we both are going to be in debt. So I do feel like this is like a very mature conversation that a lot of people, it's not a comfortable conversation to have, but it definitely is a conversation that I feel like you should be having. Granted, obviously not first, second, or third date, but like if you feel that it is moving forward and you want to share with this prospective person, so I do feel like it should be a little sooner.
But the way you make it sound, it's like the fourth or fifth date.
I think that's okay.
I mean, I'm gonna
speaking from personal experience, I think it's okay.
So here, I want to play devil's advocate here.
Okay.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but a guy who's a doctor, is that attractive or not attractive to most girls?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
So,
to be honest, a doctor, in today's economy, like, it doesn't matter. I feel like both people are going to have to work. So it doesn't even matter.
No, that's fine. I'm speaking on personal experience. I've gone to singles events.
I mean, personally, as a woman, I feel like doctor is safe. Accounting is safe.
Okay.
So that's how it feels. I wouldn't say that it's like more, for me, it's not more attractive, but it's a very safe career choice. You may
understand finance. You may understand the whole picture.
Maybe.
Because I'm just saying a teacher that makes $60,000 a year may actually have more money at the end of the day than a doctor.
Right. I mean, for us, I feel like we both agree you're dating the person, not the job.
But also, I said this before, I think people should be focusing less on the job and focusing on, are you picking a winner or a loser?
Right. No, yeah.
How many billionaires are out there today that weren't billionaires when they first got married?
Oh, for sure. And also, I know a couple people that change careers. They want to do one thing, they get married, and they're like, you know what, I actually hate what I'm doing, so I'm going to change to another career. Exactly. So then what? You feel like, oh, but I married a doctor, so he has to stay a doctor. Like, that would be terrible. I can't even imagine what that guy would be going through if his wife was like, but we were on the path, to being a doctor. Like, people can change. So that's what I mean. Like, you're not marrying the career, you're marrying the person. I do feel that there is a shape of like how you both want to like have an income, what that life looks like, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're committing to this person based solely off of their profession, because that actually could change.
If a girl asked me like right off the bat, like the 4th or 5th date, it'd be a very big turnoff for me.
Oh.
Because I think the 4th or 5th date is why are we talking about finances so
Okay, I
early?
guess maybe like feel it out. Feel
As
it.
I said, feel harder.
Okay, but feel each
right.
other out. Like,
I agree with that part.
If you guys are really into each other, you're communicating really well about how you guys are feeling, and it's something that's in the back of your mind. Like, I feel like if you feel that this potential person who you can partner with is understanding, then they'll understand where you're coming from. And then hopefully the conversation will be more mellow, or the person can say, you know what, I would love to discuss it, but I just don't feel comfortable doing it right now. I'm just not ready yet. That takes a lot of communication and a lot of maturity. So, but I don't think you have to wait so long. But that's just me.
So the perspective I'm coming from, I wanted to mention about the singles event that I went to.
Yeah.
And, a guy I became friendly with there, he was in school to become a dentist. So I made a joke that happens to be true because I saw it in my own eyes. I'm like, you're a dentist? The second these girls find out you're a dentist, every girl's going to flock to you. He starts laughing. He's like, yeah, but I'm $400,000 in debt.
Yeah.
I told him, I'm like, they don't understand that part. They don't care about that part. All they hear is dentist.
Yeah.
And that's it. And guess what? Guess who cleaned up over there?
He did.
Every girl flocked. The second that got out, every girl flocked to this guy in 2 seconds. And of course, I was right there to any girl that didn't make the cut. I was right there to grab her. So
no, but I understand. Yeah.
So when, I've never heard of a case where, and I could be wrong, but when someone's going out with a doctor, or they're looking for a doctor or a dentist or whatever it is, they don't ask them, how much are you making? They don't ask them, do you know how to operate your finances? They don't ask them questions like this. The only thing they look at is you're a doctor.
Uh-huh.
So, but in reality, no shot at any doctors, but they could be especially dentists, they could be $500,000 in debt.
Easily.
They could find themselves on, how the hell am I going to pay this off? But no girl's asking you questions about that, about does he understand finance? So that's my issue.
Right.
It's either you're going to do that for everybody or nobody. I feel like it's just the concept of, do you feel safe or do you not?
Right.
And so here's where I'm trying to say what you should be looking for. You should be looking for a winner. What do I mean by winner?
Yeah.
Like, somebody once, we connected on LinkedIn. I'll give you a story. We connected on LinkedIn. There's this guy. At the time, he was simply he was a sales rep for some janitorial supplies. Mm-hmm. You tell that to a girl and see how attracted she would be to that, right? So, and I could tell the guy wasn't doing much at the time, whatever. But he wanted to meet with me. He bought me coffee, went to Lazy Bean, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking to this guy, and I'm just like, I don't know what this guy's going to do. I definitely know it's not in janitorial supplies. But this guy is going to make it. I don't know how. I don't know in what. I just know that some people, you can just tell they're going to be successful no matter what.
Yeah.
It turns out this guy now, I believe, employs over 30 people. Uh-huh. I mean, the amount of money he's making, I can't even imagine.
Right. So his company is probably very successful.
But in the shidduchim world, all they see is sales and janitorial supplies. How much do you make? I don't think they're asking the right questions.
Right.
Because, my dad was a financial advisor.
Yeah.
He had an inside scoop at a lot of different types of people.
Yeah.
And again, this is not a shot at doctors, but he had a client who was a doctor.
Yeah.
Who he didn't know how to. He didn't let my dad manage his money properly. Like every month he's like, I need another $40,000 to buy another Mercedes. And in reality, he has no money for anything because he keeps taking money out instead of letting the money be invested. Mm-hmm. And then my dad had a couple who were both janitors. Between them both probably made $15,000 a year, ended up having more money than the doctor.
Right.
So that's my issue. I just don't think people are really, they don't get it.
They're just more interested in the title rather than the actual.
If you want to know, like, someone who's financially literate and understands how finance works, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep.
Right.
You need to be focusing on that. And so, I mean, I have no issue. Anytime someone wants to talk about their finances, is up to them. I just, in my own personal viewpoint, if you want to get to the I'm talking like if you have debt from college, I think you can assume that, it's fine. But you want to get into the nitty gritty on, if we want to buy a house, how are we actually going to do it? And legitimately start taking out, like, I actually have money here. I invested in this business, et cetera, and start getting real personal. And, maybe a lot of people don't want to give off, tell people about that. I wouldn't want to just tell anybody. I would only want to tell someone I feel like there's a really legitimate chance I'm going to marry this person.
Okay.
So that's just where I'm coming from.
I understand. I mean, I respect that, and I understand.
Yeah, that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah. I feel like, yeah, I totally respect that. It's understandable. But again, to summarize, it's not just about, what you're saying is like, it's not just about the person's job title. It's about like how they're actually managing their money and how, like properly they're managing it, because it's not just like, oh, okay, well, he's XYZ, so he has to be making this amount of money. It's not just about that. So that's also an important point.
100%. People that make $1 million a year, I know of a case in real life. The guy legitimately has a salary of $1 million. Oh,
yeah.
They just don't know how to manage it.
Yeah. We were talking about that. It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have like $1 million budget and they're like scraping away.
And they're scraping.
Yeah.
They don't know how to. That's my point. But people don't view it that way.
Right.
They don't really get it. But again, like you just know when someone's a killer and when someone's not a killer. When they're actually going to be successful, I don't know, that's up to God, or whenever that happens. I'd much rather, I'd rather just, if you're going to pick someone for life, you want to, if that guy or girl is thrown into the mud and is able to get themselves out of it, versus if they're going to throw into the mud, they have no idea how to get out of it, and you're screwed, and whatever, things happen. That's just the way I view things.
Right.
Again, I'm an entrepreneur, so that's the way I think most entrepreneurs think. But
no,
I think you'll be much better off that way.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. I will say, just going back to women and like being older and dating, I also was kind of in that area because I also wanted to be independent and not have to rely on my parents for anything. So I feel
Which is a good thing.
Right. I mean,
great.
for myself, I thought that was a good thing, but no, I felt like it was a good thing, but I was told by, a lot of shadchans like, oh, you're 24. Why are you just starting to date? It's not going to happen for you for a while. And I wasn't even done with nursing school. I was still in nursing school. I didn't finish until I was 26. And even then, I really wasn't dating seriously. And people were telling me off the bat, like, oh, you're doing this. But like,
anytime, sorry to cut you off, but anytime you say like shadchanim or whatever, tell you X, you're getting my blood boiling.
I know, but that's what this whole podcast is about.
Exactly.
It's about shadchanim. But so that was kind of a point where I was like having like this whole entire like just like crazy thoughts happening all the time. Like, okay, these people are telling me I'm never going to get married because I'm like 26. I haven't even started. And then I was like, what does it matter? The timeline of when I start dating, like, because I didn't start at 20, that means that I'm not going to get married.
I like a girl to just respond to a shotgun like that when they're saying, well, you're 26, you're never going to get married. And I'm like, okay, should I just jump off a building and kill myself?
Right.
Like, is that your is that your idea? I just want to see what a shotgun's response to that is. Cause like, what the hell are you trying to say? You're not being constructive, and you're just being an idiot.
And I would tell them like, I'm trying to build myself, and like, I wanted to start dating because I wanted to have an independency that I built on my own, and I didn't want my parents to have to pay for really much anything, and that was the goal for me, and they didn't. And I'm very proud of that, and I just don't want women to have that taken away from them, thinking like, oh, I have to pretend I'm not independent. Oh, I have to pretend that I don't make my own money. Like, I don't think that's right. And it's just, again, it's terrible that a lot of shadchins feel that way.
They view that because you made your own money, that's a negative?
Yeah.
I mean, like...
Well, not that it was a negative, but they were like, because you're independent now, that offset like years of dating. But
Holy
I was
freak.
telling them, like, I didn't want my parents to help me with my rent.
How's
I
that
didn't
bad?
want them to
How's
buy
that
my
negative?
clothes or my shoes. Like, I didn't want any of that. I wanted to be independent. And I was going through a time where I was like, did I do the wrong thing? Is this bad? But I feel like so much better, you know. But that's just me. That's just me. But coming from a financial standpoint, like what you were saying is like, it's not just about, you know, how much your salary potentially could be. It's about how you managed your money up until then. And I don't feel that these maybe conversations that people are actually having, because I know people get married and they're like, they have no idea about the financial situation that
Finances
people are
a
in.
huge deal.
And it is. It's a big deal. I mean, we disagree on when we talk about it.
I mean,
but...
I think you should definitely talk about it. The disagreement is when you do it. I think the 4th or 5th date is very early.
Okay.
That's just my own opinion.
I know.
That's
We
just me.
respectfully disagree.
Okay.
But I know there are people out there that will agree with you, agree with me, but we both agree that it is important to start talking about.
Well, no matter what, if you're going to get married, you need to have a real sit-down conversation about finances.
Yeah, but you'd be surprised that a lot of people just don't have that conversation. It's a conversation that's not comfortable. Who wants to have an uncomfortable conversation, you know? So
yeah, but I view things differently.
Yeah, I think we both view things differently.
First of all, I actually embrace the awkwardness, but I wouldn't view it as an awkward conversation at all. Why would I view that as an awkward conversation?
I mean, that's just you. And for some people, it could be a struggle.
Okay, fine.
But anyways.
So I guess let's do a recap.
Oh my God. Where do we even start? Okay, so I feel like we covered a lot of ground.
Yes, we did.
So we did just want to recap for those listening, because I feel like in the midst of our talking, sometimes, you know, we get sidetracked
and throw a lot of things out there.
So just to recap our thoughts, basically for a woman who is independent, makes a lot of money, is highly educated, we do feel that, you know, be yourself, and don't settle, and don't feel that you have to hide yourself, because that's who you are, and you want to find somebody who respects that. But also at the same time, don't throw it in his face.
Don't be a douchebag.
Don't be cocky.
Feminist, whatever.
Well, don't be cocky about it. Like, there's, I feel like, a fine balance in this area, and you have to find it. But obviously nobody's going to want to know. Like, nobody's going to want to be your friend or be your partner if you're like, well, I make this much, and like, I've worked my ass off to be here. Blah, blah, blah. Like, don't be like that.
I remember even like dating a doctor, like talk about educated, like 10 times higher than where I was.
Yeah.
And I always made that as a joke also.
Okay.
But it didn't feel like, it felt like I was dating not just necessarily a doctor, just a good person, because she always made time.
Right.
She always made time.
Right. Humble. And also, making time, especially for, you know, if you have a crazy schedule, you really want to have somebody who respects that. Some people don't, and that's okay. But you do want to at least try to make a little bit of time, you know, show them that you're thinking of them. And we also we talked about, you know, men being more open to an independent woman. And okay, if it's intimidating, that's still okay. But, you know, women, you can celebrate the person that you're being with in independence. And if she makes more than you, you know, it doesn't have to be where your ego gets damaged or where your ego's involved. Just be a little more open-minded to the fact, okay, this woman could be making more. Who cares? We also talked about, sorry, Max, but we also talked about, you know, how you're marrying the person and not the job. And what does it matter how much they make, or what does it matter their education, if you can see yourself potentially being with them? And these are just small details that really shouldn't matter in creating a relationship.
Right. I know a guy, he's a teacher, but he's also a trust fund baby.
There you go.
Which means, like, yeah, he doesn't make like he made whatever from being a teacher, but trust me, the guy was more well off than probably than any of us, for sure.
And that was the last thing we talked about, finance, when to talk about it, and what does financially responsibility actually mean in a relationship, which is also really important.
I think you touched upon a great, concept of Shadchanim should be asking these people questions. Like, in order, when someone just says, well, she's smarter than I am, so therefore it's a no. Follow up with that.
Yeah.
What does that mean exactly? What exactly are you not attracted to? Are you not attracted to because she's not going to have time for you? Or again, like as I mentioned, CEOs there's no one definition of a CEO. Some CEOs work 2 hours a day. Some CEOs work 24 hours a day.
Right. But I think that you're talking actually from a guy who actually told you this. He didn't want to date somebody smarter than him. I don't know what that means. How do you know? How do you know? And also, like, you could be dating somebody who you think is smarter than you, but she's actually really stupid. I don't know.
Yeah, she could have gotten a degree from Harvard or something, whatever it is.
But anyways, guys.
But yeah, people shouldn't. I think if people weren't as much of a douchebag, it'd be a better world.
Well, I feel like if people were more open-minded and Shadchanim just didn't stick their nose in where they really shouldn't stick their nose in, then I feel like...
I think Lisa Elephant really painted the picture the best. It's like... The second you start mentioning, Shadchanim told me to do, and she's just like, no. These people are just run away from these people.
Right. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate our listeners out there. Please leave a 5-star review, like us, subscribe to wherever you listen to a podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
And remember, everything will always be about shidduchim. Catch you in the next episode.